I just had somebody ask me on direct message if I'm completely over my breakup. What's up, everybody? Ty Rivera here, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian
In the world.
Yeah, so my friend Jackie, that was a former Dirty Bird, I think she used to help out with Dirty at 12:30 as well, but I'm not 100% on that. Her name's Jackie, though, and she lives here in Las Vegas, and I haven't gotten to talk to her since I've been living here, but it's just because she lives a busy life. I live a busy life, so we haven't seen each other, and in a lot of cases, don't make plans to meet people. It's very rare that I make plans to meet people. I either see people in regular life or I don't really talk to them. And that's kind of the way it is in my life. Maybe some people would say that's a character flaw. I don't know. I like my life the way it is. I don't spend endless hours on the phone. I'm not that guy. And so, I will sometimes have a good long chat with a friend occasionally, but even that is not all the time my thing or one of my regular things at all. So, so she asked if I'm completely over the breakup. And the truth is, this is probably the best day to ask me that, because the answer would be no. I'm not 100% over my breakup. I am not at the point where it's like, where it's sad or like missing that way. It's more the extracting the lessons from it, because like when you break up with somebody, all you can think about is what an asshole they are in some cases, right? Or when somebody breaks up with you, or however it goes. Like a lot of times all you can think about is what an asshole they are. But if you get past that part and you start asking yourself the questions like, okay, how were they an asshole? Why were they an asshole? And was it something that maybe I wasn't giving to them that I could have? Or maybe we just didn't speak the same language when it comes to being in relationships. And so I wasn't listening to what it was I was being told. Because I know in most cases for me, after a breakup, when I get to this point, I usually can see like, oh, this is where I wasn't necessarily the best at paying attention. But when I get to the next question, which is, would I have been able to give them what they wanted if I had heard that? And the answer in my case, in this relationship, this particular relationship, would be no. I wouldn't have been, because even paying attention that much wasn't something that I was willing to do at that point, or that I'm willing to do now. Like when it comes to me and any kind of relationship, it just has to work very organically and very efficiently for me to be a part of it. Now, in a couple years, I can probably dedicate time to a relationship. But at this point, I can't do any of the things that it takes. Like I said, even paying attention in a lot of cases is just like, let's just get this done, And I know in my relationship, there was a little bit of like, the fact that I didn't really want to have sex as often as he did. And that, if we're getting things done the way that we're supposed to, then I will want to have sex with my partner. If I feel like we're not working together as a team, or if I feel like there's even a little bit of dishonesty in our relationship, I just don't feel sexual towards a person. So I, have stopped pretty much completely with Grindr. I mean, like, I hooked up tonight, but it was a one-off, and I haven't been on in forever. But I hate when I find myself lying, because I really haven't been on Grindr lately. But then tonight, and I do this tonight, and it was earlier tonight, and that's another story, and I'll talk about it at some point, because these Grindr tricks fix me a little more every time I indulge. I end up, no good deed goes unpunished. I do always end up feeling like that one got on my nerves, or this wasn't what I wanted it to be in some way, and it wasn't the physical. Anyway, so yeah. I'm going to edit this part out because, it's, anyway. So the thing is, I feel like I'm in a weird position right now as far as relationships go because I don't really want one because I know that I'm still growing myself. And I know that I'm not what you would call young, so I probably should have grown to the point that I'm ready to be in a relationship, but I'm just not. You know, I don't want to listen to anybody. I don't want to meet your family. I don't want to go over to their place for Thanksgiving or Christmas or have them at mine, or like, I don't want to schedule shit with people. I don't. I don't even do that with my own family. And I don't want to talk a lot about what we're feeling in certain ways because I feel like, and I know relationships take work and I know they take communication, and I'm definitely not taking away from that. But right now, the way my life works, I either am in sync with somebody or I'm not. And that's just what it is. And I never felt like I was fully in sync with my ex after the first couple of weeks. You know, there was that couple of weeks and we were just, but also in that first couple of weeks, you're honeymooning, you know what I mean? Like, you're so into that person and you love the smell of them, and there's so many of the superficial things that you're still looking at. And when it comes to my ex, I will not deny that there were like things that I was attracted to with him that were purely superficial, that were just the way he looked, you know, and the way he did smell and the way that we kissed, and you know. But all of that stuff, once you get past that, that's when you see what you're both really like. And I don't feel like he purposely misled me any more than I purposely misled him. Because if we both were to be honest, I even addressed it with him one point, almost when we were breaking up, that we did kind of both let our representatives talk for us when we first started getting together. Well, not when we first, there was this real sweet spot at the beginning where we were both being very open with each other, and it was great. And then I don't know what happened. Maybe I came off as judgmental. Maybe I know part of what happened was he started to change what he was saying, and that kind of made me, you know, because at first our attraction was purely sexual. That's all it was, you know, and I was very happy at that point, you know, because he was being honest about the fact that he was a sexual person. And then as I started to get more relationshipy with him, he started to get more prudish in the way that he would represent things, you know. Well, I don't usually do this and I don't usually do that, and I'm not this kind of person. And I felt like, yes, you are. So am I. Like, that's why I'm with you, because I felt that vibe, and because I didn't think I was just that special at the beginning, that we were both just being what we were, which was, at that point, just being sexual, and it was great. And if we had been able to keep that and then have the emotional part too, then I could have dealt with it. But when it becomes like, now I feel like you're judging a lot of the stuff that I'm saying, because I'm like, oh, well, sometimes I think about this, or maybe we can do this, or this might be, and it's like, you know, well, you know, you have this idea of what's respectable and what's not. I ask you to send me nudes, and you say that you don't send nudes, and I'm like, I'm your fiance. I'm in China, and I want to see your dick. You know, send it, you know, but you're like, oh, I don't do that. And it's like, we have video of us fucking. I have video of us fucking. Like, when did we get the new rules? You know, like, that's that fucking dirty motherfucker that was fucking me on camera. That's what I want right now while I'm in China. That's the guy I want to show up. I don't need my fiance. My fiance was supposed to be that person, you know? And I, at the same time, wasn't being the same way. Like, I could see how he would feel let down by me when it came to sexually, because I started to gain weight and he didn't care about it, or he said he didn't care about it, but I started to feel very insecure. And so I didn't want him touching me in certain places. I would get like self-conscious when he would be in certain angles, certain positions. And, you know, I couldn't do anything about that, because I just was feeling heavy, and I was heavy for me, you know? It was just like, and like I said, in that scenario too, it's both of us. It was like him turning to this, me turning to this. Because at the beginning, when I met him, it was when I first quit smoking, and I hadn't gained that much weight. I gained maybe 5 pounds or whatever. So I still felt great and looked great, to tell you the truth. And so I didn't care what angle he saw me from. I was like, this is me. Then there was the fact that there were certain things that he wanted to be perfect, like our engagement announcement. He wanted that to be like a perfect, professionally shot picture and stuff like that. And it's like, I'm not that kind of guy. I'm just not. I personally didn't even really want to get married. I was fine to get married because I knew that I wanted to actually be with this person, or I wanted to be with what I was originally sold on as being this person. And I'm not saying like he was dishonest in that way, because like I said, we were both at first letting our representative like step in for us every once in a while and show the best side of ourselves once we got past a certain part, So I'm sure that I contributed, and there were times where he felt like maybe I was judging him, or I was the one that was turning somewhat prudish, So as when I say this, even if I get get a little bit passionate about something, I'm not angry, I'm not blaming, I'm not saying, oh, he was this terrible person or anything, because to me, it wasn't anything like that. Even like at the very end, even though it got ugly, I'm the ultimate victim blamer, especially when I'm the victim. And I say this not in any way to feel sorry for myself, but just to say I think it's a very effective way of like making sure that you don't repeat the same cycle again. Because if you're honest with yourself about what your part was in it, then you can grow from that, because the other person is the other person, and there's certain things you'll never get answers to. If you really break up with somebody, you don't see them anymore, there's certain things that you may never know why it was that way as far as they went. But as far as you go, you can continue to grow by dissecting it, and not in a like, oh, I miss him, I'm wallowing, that kind of way, and also not in a, oh, I'm such a terrible person kind of way. Just in a way like analytically, what went wrong, what happened, because there were certain things that I just will probably never give anybody. Like when it comes to actually trying for perfection, that's not something I'm trying to do. I really do feel like I live how I live, and if I love someone, I don't have to be married to them. That's something I had said to him when we first got together. And then he was like, well, I'm more traditional, so I would definitely want for us to get married. And he did say it like that, for us to get married. So I knew he wasn't just saying, oh, I'm going to find someone else and marry them. If this doesn't work out, he was saying that, he wanted us to be married. So, I went ahead and in my head was like, well, I guess that's not that big a deal to me, because I used to think that that wasn't a stance, but not wanting to get married is a stance. Moving forward, I would not budge on that for anybody, just because I don't want that. I want to be with somebody because they want to be with me and I want to be with them. Like that was another thing we had an issue about when it came to the way that we spoke. He thought that we should need each other. That's what love is you needing the other person. And I told him, no, I don't want to need you, and I don't want you to need me. I want us to be together because we want to be together, not because we feel like something's going to be missing. Obviously, if the person dies, something like that, yeah, that. But in living life together, I don't ever want anybody to feel like they need, maybe when we're old, but our whole relationship, the whole span of it was 1 year and 2 months. From the time we met to the time we broke up was 1 year and 2 months. So, 1 year and just short of 2 months, 3 days short. I don't want anybody to need me or me to need anybody that quickly. And he took that as an insult, or me not loving him enough, or saying that I wouldn't love him enough. But For me, actually choosing to come back to somebody, whether you're married or not needing a piece of paper to make it so that you'll go back to them, so that you'll be faithful to them, so that you'll keep your word to them. To me, that's a bigger show of commitment than now we're legally bound together, so we just have to make this work. We have to do it. And I know that there's divorce and stuff like that, but the thinking behind that is that it's forever, and for me, I don't need that from anybody. I really would feel better just really being in love with someone and then they come back because they want to, When it comes to monogamy, I don't know if I want to be in another monogamous relationship. And I know some people say that's selfish or whatever, but also remember I said I don't know. Because the thing is, I will do in my life from this point on whatever feels right. Like, that's where I'm at when it comes to thoughts on what a relationship is like. But I know that I definitely right now don't have time to listen to a partner or to sort things out. I am at the point in my life where I just 100% have to focus on career. I can do other things for fun and hang out with friends, and I went to gay pride the other day, and I do social things, go to dinner with friends, that kind of stuff. But when it comes to what I actually have to focus on, I know a relationship takes a lot. And I know I don't have that to give right now. Because when it comes to career too, I don't feel like I should be further along in the way that when it comes to me specifically, I've been so openly gay on stage for so long and doing it in places that most people wouldn't expect me to do it, that until recently people didn't even believe I could do it, even though I've been doing it this whole time, which that sounds ridiculous. But I still have trouble sometimes getting booked, even though I have I'll see comics with far fewer credits than I have getting booked to headline stuff, and I don't resent it in the way that oh, why are they getting? I'm not like that, but I'm just yeah, those are spots I should be getting, but because the booker or the owner or the promoter doesn't feel like a gay comic would do well in their room, then I end up not getting booked. And that's something it's taken, and it is now the world is finally starting to catch up. And I've been a part of what's been kicking that door in on the stand-up side, because when I do go, when they do put me in, everybody knows that I kill it. I do what I'm supposed to do in these clubs, but at the same time, it's the world is finally really ready for what it is I do. And this isn't the time for me to take focus off of that to focus on a relationship. So when I say I'm extracting the lessons from it, that's what I do, is I extract the lessons from it, and then I think to myself, are you willing to give that to somebody right now? And, and the answer is no. And it wouldn't even be about, my ex. It wasn't that I didn't love him enough that I wasn't able, it's just, I know what I need to focus on at this point in my life so that I can have a life where whatever it turns out to be, however, relationship ends up taking form, that I'll be able to relax in it and be okay, at least I know what I'm doing with this part of my life, Because I don't want to think about the things that we thought about, when it comes to money and finances and stuff like that. I wasn't playing tight with him. If I was just able to guarantee that I could comfortably afford everything for the rest of our lives, then I would have been a lot more cool about everything. But when I'm really trying to hustle to make sure that everything stays paid, then, and he was working, but just, there were certain things that I had to make up for, even by nature of what we actually agreed upon. So it was, for me, it's I didn't always have time to think about the emotional side of things because there was also just like paying bills. And I was working a lot, and have been working a lot until just like maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. But, then so I've had that happen before where I'll just have this burst of working, and then it stops. So I know that I have to plan for that and I have to think about it. And sometimes when I'm thinking about that, I'm not necessarily going to tune into what your emotions are because I'm trying too hard to make sure that all the basics are covered, and I feel like I don't really have time for that. And like I said, I don't think it was about the person, the other person. I feel like it's about me and where I'm at in my life right now and where I need to be and where I need to focus. So when I can do it that way, even though it is kind of torturous, it really is, I'm like that part, I'm not going to make it seem like, rehashing my relationship, someone in my head and thinking about certain things that were said and stuff like that. I'm not going to act like that isn't hard at all, but at the same time, I do it in the most productive way where it's just kind of like you have this problem and you need to figure it out. It's like a word problem when you were doing math or something, and it's like, well, why did this turn out like this? And so it makes me so I'm better equipped to navigate something the next time that I end up meeting somebody that's like what I feel worth my time. And I don't mean that in a snotty way, but I think we should all think that way. Like, is this person worth my time? And some people really aren't worth your time. And it doesn't mean that they can't be good for someone else and, be totally worth another person's time. But, is this person worth my time is the way that you have to ask yourself that question, in my opinion. And unless somebody just came out of the box saying exactly what it was I needed them to say and meaning it, not just good at tuning in and knowing what it is they're supposed to say, because that's the last thing I need in my life. But somebody that actually genuinely feels it and means it and has the same ideas and goals, because we didn't even have the same goals in certain ways. Like, yeah, we both wanted to, have kids, like that's one thing we both agreed on. But just, there were so many like little things where when I look back on it, I'm like, yeah, we really, we hadn't fully decided whether he was going to take my last name or I was going to take his last name, or how we were going to do the hyphenated, because both of us wanted our last name to be the actual last name, which, if you're having that kind of problem, especially with me, because on some level you're going to be my fucking wife, and that's what it is. So you will put my last name at the end of your last name. If you have to have it hyphenated, that's fine. If you want to lose your motherfucking last name altogether, that's really the way I'd prefer it. But that's something I'm willing to bargain on. But as far as like me taking your... no. I would possibly go for the hyphenated though, with your last name right before mine. I would do that for a bitch. But yeah. So it's like, you ask yourself these questions and then you're like, okay, well, that's where I am with that. And so I can say that even though the process itself does suck, the growth at the end is definitely worth it. And the feeling relieved in, like, now that I've really thought this out, I don't have regrets about it ending, even though I wasn't necessarily happy that it ended, when it ended, how it ended. And that's a good feeling, because anytime I've really thought about it, it really has come to that conclusion. And it's a different way of coming to that conclusion. That's why I let my mind naturally take me where it needs to take me, because I feel like my mind will actually take me to the lessons. Not, like I said, not at all because if it gets at all like, I should be down on myself, or I'm like, I'm not a fan of being mean to myself. So I will get myself out of that if that's the way my thinking's going. But as long as it's productive, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to allow this. And I'm going to let my mind think about this the way that it needs to. And, every time it's happened, it will give me different lessons. And it doesn't happen all the time. That's the other thing, So it's not like unbearable and it's like, oh, it's always on my mind. It's like, no, I'll go for days without, thinking about it. Obviously, I live in the place we lived in, so there's always going to be at least a reminder or two or something, that the light behind me I bought for him for Christmas, and it's a light fixture, so it goes into the ceiling, and I wasn't going to take it down when he was leaving and figure out how to put the ceiling fan back together that was there. Plus, that ceiling fan was hideous, and I like this light a lot more anyway. And, I bought that light for my fiance, not just somebody that was going to leave. So, I see that light, and obviously it's going to make me think, and then the bulbs, he chose the bulb, and it fucking gives off the most beautiful light from that bulb. And so, obviously when I looked at that, I made all my bulbs like that. So, that same Edison soft, like yellow, or maybe it's an orange, I don't know. But whatever it is, I buy it and it's fucking beautiful, and I put them in everything. And so, but yeah, so it's I just let my mind do what it has to do. And that's what I would tell anybody that's going through a breakup. Let your mind do what it has to do. When it comes to the texting and stuff like that, I did that more than I should have, because I felt like there was something that was needed to be discussed there. But in the end, he made the right decision in not returning those texts. Like, since the big argument that we had, then we didn't have any more communication as far as him communicating back with me. There were times where, and I don't drink, so it's not like it was drunk dialing or anything like that, but just like my mind would really take over in that way, and I'd just be like, I just have questions. I just want to know certain things. But like I said, at some point you have to accept that you're never going to get an answer to some of these questions, and so you just need to let it go and just accept that it was what it was and see what your personal lessons were in all of it. So no, I'm not 100% over my breakup, and then we're coming to the holidays, so there's going to be times that pops in my head, because we did shit for the holidays, even though I didn't want to do that. His parents came over one time, his brother and his sister-in-law, and then we went to his brother and sister-in-law's for Thanksgiving last year. So, my mind naturally goes to like, what was I doing last year at this time? And then that's what's going to pop in. So, every once in a while that's going to happen, but I'm in a good place with just where my personal growth is in general. And this has been a long one, and I'm sorry for that if you made it this far. This has been Rivera, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world.